and welcome to the 2015 Delhi Election Tracker. As we track down to the final day, that's February 7th, which has been now announced. Results are going to be out on the 10th of February, and we're looking at numbers far more closely than any other place you could possibly go to. And we will go look at numbers, we'll look at demographics, we'll look at trends, and we'll try and understand what lies behind the numbers rather than just give you the numbers. With me, of course, Yashwant Deshmukh, as Boom and CVoter continue with this collaboration. So today we're going to be looking at the latest snap polls, and then we shall work backwards to see what the seat projections and the vote projections are and see where it's all landing up. So remember that we are now almost in the final lap. The one thing that's changed since our last discussion and conversation has been the big Modi rally in New Delhi. So Yashwant, I hand it back to you here. Is that some? I mean, I know we're going to talk about our snap poll first, but before that, was that the turning point that in some ways was expected to happen?
Well, yes and no, because BJP did not have anything else so far in this election, barring the campaign of Narendra Modi. And Aam Aadmi Party had already taken a big advantage in terms of starting the campaign, declaring all the candidates, and a clear-cut chief ministerial candidate, that is Arvind Kejriwal, and banking on his popularity. So BJP, by and large, had nothing to do as such, and wait for Narendra Modi to start the campaign. So that is one major event that had happened in the last 2 days, that Narendra Modi started his campaign. That is one thing for sure that is bound to put BJP somewhat in the action, because so far BJP was absolutely out of action, I would say. So in our tracking poll, as we have been doing it every week, and we have been watching it in a way that week after week, what exactly is happening. And we started doing it in October, November. The BJP lead was quite large. And in December, all of a sudden, the BJP lead started going down and down and down. And within a month or so, we realized in our polls, and we have been reporting about that in the last opinion poll that we had given the projections, from almost a 10-point lead, that lead was reduced to about only 2%, and which 2% is pretty much within the margin of error of plus minus 3%. So it was basically statistically a tie, if you will look at it that way. So from a 10-point deficit to coming at par, or maybe getting ahead of the BJP, that was a big movement as far as Aam Aadmi Party was concerned, Arvind Kejriwal was concerned. But at the same time, I must underline the fact that this coming back into the fight, or taking the lead into the fight, was largely because of the vacuum. No campaign from any opposition party. Congress is absolutely out, and we have in the last episode we did figure out that there is a direct correlation between the Congress votes and the Aam Aadmi Party votes. One goes up, the other comes down, the other goes up, this one comes down. So Congress being out of action has a big implication as far as the Aam Aadmi Party vote share is concerned. So all in all, now that the campaign has started in full swing, now that Modi has started his campaign, as well as Congress is bound to start its campaign as well. Last show, we did get the Delhi Cantonment Board results, where the Congress actually surprised everyone. From the back, it actually came out as the number 2 party over there, much ahead of the Aam Aadmi Party, and direct contest to the BJP. And the vote share actually 29% of the vote in Delhi Cantonment Board elections, where in the last assembly election, the contest was just bipolar between the BJP candidate and the Aam Aadmi Party candidate who won that election in 1 year back in assembly. And Congress was nowhere in the race in the last assembly election in that Delhi cantonment area. Congress actually bounced to number 2 position. So that these things in the last couple of days has made the things really, really interesting, which way it could go, or it could swing in the next 6 weeks or 5 weeks or so.
Right, exactly. And let's pick up your CVoter snap poll, which is the last piece of data that we have. Sample size of 1,270, which is consistent with your earlier sample sizes. The graphics are not very good, but I think there are 2 or 3 points that we can quickly talk about, Yashwant. So one is that BJP and AAP almost seem to be running neck and neck. I mean, this. Let me take you to the second question, which party will form government in Delhi this time? There you are. And BJP, AAP, 49% total, and AAP is at 34%.
Exactly.
So how does that? I mean, this is now mid-Jan, right? We've only got 3 weeks for elections. How do we interpret this?
Yeah. This is the perception of who could win this election, and perceptions are not vote share.
Right.
Let me remind you again:
Absolutely.
Perceptions are not vote share. These are the way people look at it, who could be having a head start. And you remember almost the similar kind of question we have been tracking in the last 6 weeks, and in December, that perception between the AAP and BJP gap had reduced. And yesterday on this snap poll, we figure out that the BJP again in perception after Modi's rally had taken about 10 points lead in a way that who could win the election. But let me again say, the perception is not the vote share. As in the previous perception, we figured out that BJP's gap over the Aam Aadmi Party was 15%. As far as the perception goes, who will win the election. But in actual vote share, the gap was only about 2%. There was a 13% gap on perception who will win and actual where they are going to cast their vote on.
Yes, why does
that is
happen?
very interesting combination.
Yeah. Why does that happen? Why is there a gap, or a substantial gap like this between the percentage numbers and the actual vote share numbers?
Well, it's a gap largely to do with the perception that Modi has been single-handedly winning the elections for the BJP, that he make sure that BJP won in Maharashtra, Jharkhand, in Haryana. There was nothing but Modi's campaign which made the BJP win. So the perception is that, if Narendra Modi is campaigning finally, then BJP will win. But when you talk about the vote share, when you talk about whom you are actually going to vote for, then that gap is not there. So this is very interesting. I mean, from a psephologist perspective, from a social scientist perspective, and a journalist perspective, that the perception about Modi ensuring that BJP is going to win is much bigger than the actual vote share that BJP is getting in these elections so far. I mean, as we are talking about till yesterday.
Can change. Yeah. So let's look at the two polls, the CVoter poll, which is 26th to Jan 8th, and we also have the Cicero polls, which are looking at, a whole bunch of things, but let's look at the seat share and the vote share. So both Cicero says Jan 15, 34 to 40 seats for BJP and 25 to 31 for AAP, and the CVoter says 35 for BJP and 29 for AAP. Congress is at 5, which obviously means that it's not really a player in these elections, at least as far as these polls go. So both polls seem to be somewhat consistent here, at least when it comes to seat share projection, but this is obviously before the rally. Am I right?
Both these polls are before the rally, and in CVoter poll, the gap was only about 2%. In Cicero poll, the BJP's lead was about 4%, which is the higher the gap actually. And Cicero was in the first week of January, while our poll was from the last week of December to January. One more interesting thing is that in the Cicero's poll, in December and January, their seat forecast is almost the same. They don't see much of a difference between their December projections and their January projection, which is consistent that BJP is leading roughly about 4% vote, and BJP is leading roughly about 10 odd seats. While in the CVoter poll, the lead is roughly about 2%, and the lead is roughly about seats in roughly about only 5 seats. So you can be consistent that, with approximately 1% vote swing, you can realize that there are about 5 seats which are changing hands in these elections. This is what the kind of close fight that we are looking at right now. With just 1% swing, you can realize the gap could be 2% of votes, and it could change about 5 seats from this side to that side. It works both ways. If BJP goes down 1% more and Aam Aadmi Party picks up 1% more, then the scene automatically changes. Then AAP could be scoring 35 and BJP could get stuck around 30 seats only. So this is very interesting from both the polls. So far, the trend is consistent that BJP is leading between 2 to 4% of votes, and in terms of seats, about 5 to 10 seats in totality. If you look into taken an average of both the polls, you will realize that it's about 3% votes and about 7 seats in terms of lead of BJP. But this is before Narendra Modi's campaign. After Narendra Modi's campaign, there could be right or wrong, both things in a way that could happen, because we realized yesterday's snap poll that even though the perception about BJP's winning is increased, but vote share wise, it had more or less remained the same yesterday. Not much of a difference, hardly about a 1.5% difference, even though it has been only one day as far as we are concerned in terms of polling.
But Yashwant,
this could change.
Right, just to come back for a second, which is like we said in the beginning, the most recent piece of data that we have. The interesting thing seems to be, and you obviously have been looking at responses across income groups, right? You've got lower income group, middle income group, higher income group. Now, the support for AAP seems to be consistent across income groups, whereas in BJP, it's obviously higher when it comes to middle income group and higher income group, which of course is consistent with what we've seen earlier. But there seems to be a difference in AAP. I mean,
that's
as
right.
I can see.
And that underlines our previous finding again. Every way we are finding it consistent that as the income group goes up, BJP support also goes up, but as the income goes down, the Aam Aadmi Party support goes up. So it is very much understandable that Aam Aadmi's core base is now from the low income group. This is consistent across different waves. In our snap poll yesterday, we figured out the same trends in terms of quotient, in terms of vote share, that their support or the core vote is consistent on that. But however, it is very interesting also to put up one thing across, that this core vote of Aam Aadmi Party has the same socio-economic profile that is of the Congress, that we have proved empirically in the last two episodes, right, how these two parties are right now vying for the same vote bank. And Delhi Cantonment Board elections could point to something very unique in terms of a tactical voting against the BJP. Maybe in some place where the Aam Aadmi Party candidate would be in a better position to defeat BJP, these core votes of the Congress could switch over to Aam Aadmi Party. In some places where Aam Aadmi Party candidate is not good enough vis-a-vis Congress candidate, they could remain loyal to the Congress, as if it has happened in Cantonment Board, where the Congress was looking better. Probably their candidates were looking better to contest BJP. That is why that core vote remained intact with the Congress, or rather went largely to the Congress. So these kind of things are going to be very unique when we look into the Delhi elections in next 5 weeks.
Interesting thing, so CVoter has gone also showed the breakup by caste and community, whereas your sample looks obviously at income. I mean, we don't have Dhananjay Joshi joining us for this round, but he's going to be with us in a subsequent round, which is obviously on Monday. What's your sense, Yashwant, in your experience, what has more play? I mean, obviously this differs for different places, but in a context of Delhi, how much would you place emphasis on caste and community versus income groups, and between both of them?
No, it's very interesting. If you look into Dhananjay's data, you will figure out that the Aam Aadmi Party support base among the Dalits and the minorities is substantially high. That's very interesting piece of data if you look into that. And this is where the socio-economic profile also pitches in, because if you think about how the BJP is polling into these accounts and how the BJP is polling into OBC and the upper caste accounts, in a loose term, I would say they are quite significant in terms of having the same socio-economic configuration. The vote bank in terms of caste groups and the vote bank in terms of economic groups are quite in sync with each other. And Dhananjay's data actually underlines what our data in terms of economic profile is concerned. It actually confirms this trend, that Aam Aadmi Party vote share is largely likely to come from the Dalit vote banks and the minorities big time. but the BJP's core vote is largely going to come from the upper caste and the OBCs. This is where BJP is going to score. And as far as the Congress is concerned, they are again going to contest the same vote of the minorities as well as the Dalits as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned. So if Congress picks up, it would be a bad news for the Aam Aadmi Party. And if Aam Aadmi Party picks up, it would be a bad news for the Congress. So these two are quite, in terms of their votes base and the core support, they are interrelated at this point of time.
And which of these factors, Yashwant, could swing more? I mean, could the swing be influenced by the caste community factor or the income factor, which of course you're saying are converging in any case? Or is it an external factor like a Modi rally? Because otherwise, the numbers are fairly consistent or steady, right? We've got BJP holding at about 34 to 40 seats, and I mean that's Cicero poll, and AAP at about 25 to 31. So, of course, AAP is a close second as things stand. But which way could this go, and what could drive it?
Well, there is a very interesting fact that we have this habit of looking into Indian elections from the caste and religion perspective, which I have actually differed all the time. And I feel that the socio-economic equations are more important than caste many a times, and especially in the case of Delhi. And I would again like to underline the fact that in the May 2014 general election, the turning point of that election was the Dalits voting to BJP. And this we underlined in our pre-poll survey. The moment we started finding that trend, we said that this is done because if Dalits are voting for the BJP, they are going to sweep UP, they are going to sweep Bihar. And that is precisely what happened. So Dalits in 2014 general election actually, they played a big role in breaking up this idea, that stereotype that they would be only voting for the Congress and only voting for the Bahujan Samaj Party and not to a so-called upper caste party like BJP. So that myth was big time shattered in May last year. But that has taken only one line, that okay, yeah, whether it will happen in assembly election, because we could see very well the split voting phenomena, that Dalits were voting for BJP on the Lok Sabha election, but they did vote for Congress in the assembly elections. That vote did not transfer to BJP as far as the assembly election was confirmed. So in that way, that remains to be seen. In a place like Delhi, can then the issue of development could get BJP some Dalit votes, or are they going to depend purely on their caste line and they would vote for the Aam Aadmi Party or the Congress right now? And if the campaign picks up more on the developmental issue, they could make a dent in that vote bank. Similarly, Aam Aadmi Party, if their campaign really picks up, they could very well dent the middle class vote bank of the BJP as well. Yeah. Let's not forget that last year, 1 year back, the main reason for the surge of Aam Aadmi Party was not the Dalit vote, but the main reason for that surge was the middle class vote.
And I mean, you know, to look at your opinion poll that was conducted in the first week of January, you know, I mean, this is the big question that everyone's been asking. Were you happy with Kejriwal's first term in office, which was, of course, truncated by the Aam Aadmi Party itself? And 64% seem to say that they were. And this is a whole year later. People have had enough time to digest the effects and the after effects, as it were.
That's true, and that has been consistent all across almost in every opinion poll that we did in the last 1 year. As far as the performance of Kejriwal is concerned, or the Aam Aadmi Party 49-day government is concerned, people were largely happy with that performance. The only thing that were really unhappy was that they quit, that they were seen as undependable, that these people, when they got a mandate for Delhi, they just ran away to become the prime minister and the central ruling party. So that was the anger, but their performance was seen as credible, and their rating has that performance did not go down in the last 1 year. So for them, it's actually a blessing in disguise, because big time, because they did not continue the government, so there is no anti-incumbency against them. There is actually a sense of pro-incumbency if you look at it that way. And BJP, which has been out of power since 1998 in capital, they are facing a kind of a weird anti-incumbency at that level of MCD and now at the level of center. So this all in all puts up a point, a very classical point, whether Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party can build upon that goodwill and say that, okay, you can see us as the dependable, we are not going to run away and we are going to give a good government, or people will figure out that, okay, no, they could be good, their motives could be good, but somehow they are not very serious as far as running a government is concerned, and that seriousness is not there. So these are pretty perception-oriented issues, and it remains to be seen in the next 5 weeks how the BJP plays up these perception, how the Aam Aadmi plays up these perception, and how the Congress, most importantly, as we discussed last time, it's not just BJP and Aam Aadmi Party, it's the performance of the Congress which is going to decide the outcome of this election.
Right, exactly, right. So we've run out of time, Yashwant, almost. Just a last word from you now. As we go into our next round of discussions, and I mean, we've got the snap poll, possibly we'll have fresh data as well over the weekend, but what is the one or two things that we are now should be focusing on, again from a data point of view, given what's happened? I mean, one, clearly the Modi rally has had an impact, and if there are a few more that could swing things. The second is we've seen a clear convergence between caste community as well as income class, as the point that you're making. The third is that don't forget the aspirations, the issue of aspirations, which is what in some ways swung UP away from what traditionally it could have gone into the hands of the BJP. And finally, I'm assuming that as things stand, BJP is positioned very strongly and AP is a close second.
Well, one thing from here onward that I would be keeping a very keen eye on is the leadership issue, the issue of the chief ministerial candidates. Let's face the fact that Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal has been getting an empty goalpost so far as leadership is concerned. There is no name from the BJP, no name from the Congress. And I heard yesterday that Congress is planning to put up a name of Ajay Maken and asking him to contest the election. And Ajay Maken is a very credible name, I would say. I mean, if you cannot ignore that name. So if Congress really declares him the CM candidate and Congress can gain out of it, that would be very important. Same is the BJP's case. BJP has so far gone ahead with only Narendra Modi's campaign. Good or bad, that remains to be seen. But if at all BJP comes up with any CM candidate name, that would have its own impact on these outcomes. So it remains to be seen. We are also hearing today, though yet not till the point of time we are speaking, it's not yet clear that whether Kiran Bedi is joining BJP and whether she will contest. Similarly, Shazia Almi, if she is joining BJP and whether she will contest. So these are the issues of leadership and personality oriented, I would say, which would be very keenly followed, both from the BJP and the Congress factors, and Congress as the balancing factor in these elections. I would be more keenly following what game plan Congress has, what kind of leadership Congress is throwing, and what kind of candidates Congress is giving. That would be a very keen thing for me to observe.
Thank you so much for that. We've run out of time completely. We are going to be back as we continue the 2015 Delhi election tracker right here on Boom on a Monday, as we pick up and focus this time on the leadership, the most critical question perhaps for the Delhi elections. Thanks for watching.